Poppy Playtime is probably one of the biggest indie horror games out there right now. While many people believe that Five Nights at Freddy's helped kickstart the rise of mascot horror games, Poppy Playtime cemented it. While using toys for horror isn't the most original idea, I think that this game has a unique take on the concept. I love most of the creature designs in this game. They're simple, yet appealing, and can work as both a horror monster and a believable toy. But what if Poppy Playtime wasn't an indie horror game? What if it was a different type of game? And what if it released 2 decades prior? What if Poppy Playtime was an edgy 2000s action game? Today, I'm going to be redesigning 5 monsters from the first 3 chapters of the game, and turning them into playable characters for this hypothetical alternate timeline, trying to be true to the original characters' designs and personalities, and altering them so that they're still recognizable, but also so that they fit this new universe. Welcome to Cackling Pumpkins, and this is What If Poppy Playtime was a 2000s action game. Before we begin, the pilot for my new variety show, Nothing On, debuts this month. A series that plans to bring back the spirit of pre-streaming television while mixing it with the modern age of the internet. If you're a fan of Disney horror, then you'll love the theme of the pilot. As annoying as it sounds, I usually don't use this phrase very often. I'm pretty sure this is actually the first time I'm going to be saying this. Subscribe and hit that bell to be notified of its release on October 25th. Let's go in order of the monster's debut, starting with Chapter 1's Huggy Wuggy. Despite being called Poppy Playtime, the face of Playco is Huggy Wuggy, a tall blue monster with long limbs for great hugs. We get terrorized by this guy not once, but twice. The first is in Chapter 1 when he chases you in the vents, and the second is in Chapter 3 with a monstrous form that follows you down a hall. For this take, I decided to mix both of them together. I call him Huggy Unleashed. This version of the character can switch between 2 forms. The first is Vent Crawler, a smaller but still tall variant that can move at great speeds. He's very agile, is able to move through tight spaces, but he isn't as strong as his second form, Static Nightmare. In this form, he sacrifices his mobility for strength. His personality also becomes more vicious, and the longer he stays in this form, the more he acts like his original counterpart. Vent Crawler is his default form. His personality is comparable to that of Sonic the Hedgehog with a hint of Big the Cat. Dopey, but still determined. Now we get to the title character. Poppy is a porcelain doll who you find locked inside a wooden container with glass windows. Unlike the rest of the cast here, she is not a threat, but instead an ally who wants your help to beat the prototype for your freedom. In this iteration, the main character does not arrive at Playco, but they don't have to. She's actually better off in her case too. Her body is stuck in a comatose state, but her mind is wide awake. She can use mind-based powers such as astral projection to temporarily leave her case and scout the area, telepathy to communicate with others, and telekinesis to grab objects and defend herself. Her telekinetic powers come in the form of disembodied hands that look similar to the ones you'd find on the Grab Pack. She's able to use all the same abilities as the Grab Pack and its different colored variants. By doing so, her hands also change color. But her fighting capabilities are much to be desired. She is the weakest of the cast. But despite still inside her case, she is an amazing escape artist. She stays inside her case by choice, for the sake of protection. Her personality is exactly the same as the game's. Now for the main thread of Chapter 2, Mommy Longlegs. Mommy. That's a word not many of us can hear the same way anymore, so I decided to give her some extra mommy-dommy energy in this redesign. The personality of this version is very similar to the original, minus that she is much more suggestive and self-righteous. And yes, she does laugh like a stereotypical female anime villain. She loves to let you know how screwed you are. In the game, she is shown to be very spider-like, not only by moving around like a spider, but also spiderwebs you'll find in chase scenes. Here we push the aspect even further, giving her multiple arms she can stretch and bend in all sorts of directions. She can also shoot webbing from her fingertips, mouth, and high heels, but it's much more efficient if she uses her army of plastic ring spiders to do it for her. These ring spiders treat her like their queen. She is known to make an entrance by having them carry her into the room. Now it's time for a monster that only makes a cameo inside the main game. They instead appear in the co-op game, Project Playtime. Boxy Boo is a jack-in-the-box that almost looks like a Sesame Street puppet. I have never played Project Playtime, but I would imagine that he's quite monstrous and strong. For this redesign, I decided to take some inspiration from a T-Rex to push his monstrous aspects even further. In this universe, he's one of the few creatures to act like a feral animal, as every other character is able to speak, even those who couldn't in the original universe. I decided to give him a beard and some gray hairs to make him look a bit more ancient, and thus giving a little bit more personality that I feel as if was missing from the original's design. Lastly, let's go to Chapter 3's Catnap, one of the smiling critters who was recalled shortly after his release. Catnap is able to release a red smoke, or poppy gas, from his mouth that's capable of putting others to sleep. He is probably the largest monster we've seen so far, and we haven't even seen the prototype yet. Catnap was the first character I redesigned. The original sketch I made is what inspired this video to begin with. This is probably the most drastically different take out of all the redesigns I've made. He has the personality of a cunning yet threatening insomniac. He always wants to get up close and personal to intimidate his prey. He can't go to sleep, but he can make others with his red smoke. Speaking of which, his redesign is meant to have some stoner vibes, which is why he looks more relaxed and is wearing those loose pants. When under the influence of his red smoke, one begins to see Catnap as an anthropomorphic version of the hallucination. Not only does he sound a lot more vicious, but one can also hear his voice from all angles, making it sound like there are multiple versions of him in the room. And that's because to the victim's awareness, there are. With the poppy gas, Catnap can create hallucinations such as projecting multiple versions of himself, altering the layout of the room, and even swarming their vision with many smiling critters that almost appear as if they're crawling on your eyes. Well, that's all I got so far. If you liked this video, be sure to leave a like, and if you have any other ideas for potential art videos, be sure to put them down below. Also, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you also check out Nothing On when it premieres on October 25th.